you've obviously started in some pretty big bowl games already, but what's the difference in preparing for a bowl game at Tech game week 1?
I don't think there's any difference, none at all. And that's the significance of it. You treat every game the same. I watch the same film on Sunday that I've watched on Sundays for the past 4 years, same blitzes on Monday, stuff like that. I think when you're going into it, you try to keep it simple, and you try to keep the routine thing, the routine process, routine. You don't make it hard on yourself. You don't make it complicated. You do the same thing over and over, and so that's what I've been doing.
I know you've started a couple games, but this will be your first time starting in Sanford Stadium. Is that really sunk in? Is that important to you?
Yeah, it is important to me. I mean, for 5 years, it's been a dream of mine, and just the little things. You, as a student, you go across that North Campus Bridge, and you dream about hearing your name called in Sanford Stadium. Hutson Mason from Marietta, Georgia. That means a lot, especially being an in-state kid. Those are the small things that you really cherish, and so I'm pumped. I'm excited about playing in Sanford Stadium, and it's crazy to think that I've been here for 5 years. This is going to be the first time I'll hear my name called. But again, I think it's kind of important to stay even-keeled. You can get out there and get too excited, and it can be too overwhelming for you if you let it. And so I'm trying to mentally stay in that bubble, and then have a great time afterwards, and thank the fans and look up and say, wow, this is awesome. But before the game, try and stay focused.
Do you envision yourself maybe having to tell yourself on Saturday, hey, all right, let's stay on that even keel. Let's not, get too ahead of ourselves. Do you think you're going to have to remind yourself?
I wish I could answer that. I've just never been in that situation before. So, I'm sure, like I said earlier, I haven't played in front of 90,000 before. On this big of a stage, I played at Tech, but it wasn't 90,000. I played a bowl game, that wasn't 90,000. So, are there going to be jitters? Yeah, there's going to be anxiousness, and so to an extent, you do got to kind of calm yourself down and breathe and just make it realize, dude, this is just a football game, And I think where I'm most effective is when I kind of get in the zone, and it is possible to get in the zone where you're running plays and you don't even really realize that there's 90,000 people out there. And so you're just out there executing. You see like 11 guys and you're running the play. You get the signal and you run the play. I feel like if I can get into that zone, that's where I can be the most effective.
Is this the game a couple of years ago when you knew that you were sticking around here? That you haven't done make a start in that game. You obviously had a couple of bonus games last year, but I mean, did you kind of look at things as this is Hutson Mason time?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that as at the Tech game when I knew Aaron was gone.
Right.
I knew it was Hutson Mason time then, and I knew that those two games were going to be important going into next year. And so, we take it back a few years. My recruit process really came down to Georgia and Clemson. I mean, Clemson never offered me, but I took a visit to Clemson, and when I left there, they told me that they were going to offer me the next day. And when I went home, they called me the next day and basically told me that they were going to take another route and taking two quarterbacks the next year. And so I can remember going home that night, and I absolutely loved Clemson. And it was Georgia and Clemson. I was back and forth. And so, it's kind of ironic to see now. At that time, I didn't know I was going to be playing Clemson, but very ironic to look back on it and think that I'm on this side instead of that side. So,
Did you have a Georgia offer at that point?
I did. Yep.
What would you have done if Clemson offered the next day?
It would have been tough. I can remember calling Coach leaving Clemson. I was leaving with my high school coach, and was just really impressed by the Clemson academics and how they handled that stuff. And had a great meeting with the coaches. And I remember leaving and telling my coach, I was like, whoa, I'm kind of stuck. And so I remember calling Coach Bobo and kind of telling him, like, man, I really love the Clemson academics, and going into that Clemson visit, I wasn't really expecting that. And when I left, I quickly realized I had a really tough decision to make. So I went home and prayed, and really prayed hard, because I was like, man, you got to remember, this is like December. This is close to signing day. I didn't get offered by Georgia till December, so this decision is kind of being pressed by coaches to happen pretty quickly. And so I went home and I prayed about it. And ironically, the next morning they called me and they're like, hey, we're actually not going to offer you. We're going to take two quarterbacks in the next class. And then I was like, I knew what decision to make.
That's in the last 2 years, the offense has broken a lot of school records. I mean, do you think this offense has that same kind of capability?
Yeah, I do. I think we have that capability when we're fully healthy. records will come with it if you prepare and if you execute. But at the end of the day, I don't care if we throw for 100 yards and win the game. As long as we're winning, I really don't care. And so, I'll just let y'all talk about the records, and if we're playing good and we're breaking records, that's awesome. But if we're not playing to our best ability, but we're still winning games, that's awesome too. So whatever it takes to win.
You said when you're healthy.